So, hi guys, welcome back to Nicksphere Media. I'm joined by a special guest today, Tyler Brown from Tyler Talks. So, Tyler's going to be joining me on the Countdown to You podcast throughout the NFL season to discuss what's happening, the results, all of that. But yeah, Tyler, bro, how you doing?
Good, man. Yeah, I'm good. It's good to be here. We've obviously been talking about doing this for a little while now, and I think finally we just had to do it. We just had to do it.
Yeah, defo, bro. I'll just get straight into it, man. I know that you played American football in the UK, and you know the experiences, bro. Just give us some insight into how it is. How did you find your team? Actually, first of all, what position do you play? Most important.
So I've gone through quite a few positions. When I first started out, I went cornerback, and then had a little stint at quarterback because everyone wants to be a quarterback eventually. But then I found my position at running back, and I just sort of stuck with it. Then it's a position that just keeps me mentally active throughout the game because I get bored quite easily. But with running back, there's so much to look at during the game. Just my mind is always locked in at all times. So for that position, that's best for me, really.
All right, cool. So let's just take it back. Being from the UK, obviously born and bred in the UK. How did you get into American football?
It's quite a funny story, actually, because I was in high school, year 9, so I was 10. And my friend kept begging me to go to Manchester Titans. That's my team. Their trials, or they're rookie sessions.
Right.
For years and years, I'm like, no. Like, I'm not going. Like, I'm too busy with. I wasn't busy. I was just being lazy. And then eventually, finally broke me down and got me to go. And then the funny thing about it is, I actually stayed on, and he didn't. He broke his thumb on the first proper kitty session, and then he never went back. And then I just carried on going, and then I just fell in love with the game, completely. I didn't think going to that first session I would be continuing weeks after, and then playing the games, and we're getting fully committed into into the team and stuff like that. So that's how I got started, really.
So obviously being in England, being in Manchester, I know your experience was quite straightforward. It just happened really. But how easy do you think it is to find a team? Whereas if you're trying to play, obviously, European football, it's very easy to find a team. You just go online, 2 minutes, you can probably go out and try it out for a team. Whereas for American football, what's the differences? And yeah.
You know what? I like American football in the UK has grown so much since my year. So now I'd say it's very easy. If you're interested in playing, that all you gotta do is just type it in. I think there's like a team for every major city, or at least or a team for most, even some small towns, or counties, something like that. So in the northwest, just speaking, there's Manchester Titans, there's Lancashire Wolverines, who obviously cover Lancashire, and they got Merseyside Nighthawks for Merseyside area. There's Chester Romans. There's so many teams around nowadays. Whereas a few years ago, you'd have to do a bit of digging to find out. But as the sport has grown over the past few years, I think it's easier now than ever. And obviously, because obviously with the London games coming in and whatnot, it's everything's just come to make the sport bigger and better for the future of the sport. So I wouldn't say it's that hard to find it. You just obviously want to, if you're in the mindset to look for it, it's right there in front of you. It's easy. BBC Sport have on their website as well where you can find it, because Jason Bell and OC do a bit of promoting on their Instagram and stuff like that as well. So I think it's quite easy nowadays compared to how I initially found it.
Okay, cool. So you think it's easier, but in England, in terms of popularity, in my opinion, I mean, obviously I'm a massive NFL fan and also NBA, whatever, but I would say in general terms, the NBA is a lot bigger in England than the NFL. Would you agree with that, or do you think the NFL is a bit bigger?
I would agree with NBA is bigger just because of, well, I mean, the likes of Michael Jordan and stuff like that. That was a worldwide thing where everyone was wearing Bull shirts and everything like that. Whereas American football, there wasn't really anything. There wasn't a character like that. Obviously, to American footballers, we look at Michael Vick because he was a living cheat mode. But Michael Jordan was an international global phenomenon. Whereas NFL, up until recently, obviously with Tom Brady and Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, people like that. That it's like at the moment I would say NBA just edges it, but NFL is still up there just because when you go to like I've been to a few London games myself and stuff like that, and they fill out. They're like Wembley and Tottenham and Twickenham. They're all full. They're all sold out the tickets. So I would say that it's obviously a popular sport, but in terms of comparing to NBA, just because of the earliness of global superstars, and I'd say NBA just about takes it at the moment.
Okay, cool. In my opinion, I think what goes against American football is the fact that they have to wear helmets. That's a massive problem in terms of popularity because in England, you end up attaching to stars. So with NBA, this is why I think the NBA is bigger because you'll see LeBron James, you see Steph Curry, and you can latch onto them. So you become a fan because of that. Like me, I've taken up NFL quite recently because of Patrick Mahomes. That's the only reason why I got into NFL. Whereas people wouldn't have that same opportunity to do that because they can't see the players' faces. For example, honestly, in England, you can go to main households and you can go, have you ever heard of the name Tom Brady? Okay, they'll say yes. And then get a picture of 5'10" white guys. They will not be able to spot him out without his helmet on. But they'll know number 12, Patriots, etc. But they wouldn't know necessarily how he looks like. And so yeah, it's quite hardened for fans to go in and out. Do you not think?
No, no, there is something to that. I wouldn't say like perception like looking at their faces and stuff like that, just because like it's just part of the sport. Obviously, like I've obviously got quite a few rugby friends, and this conversation came up yesterday actually. About which is better, American football and rugby. Obviously, we have different opinions, and
Yeah.
the rugby person always says, "Oh, we wear pads and helmets," and I say, "Well, yeah, because we're allowed to hit hard and do different type of hits, whereas." Rugby is a lot more confined to the sort of tackles you can do. Like per se, you can technically clothesline, like not physically clothesline someone, but you, in a way,
Yeah.
you can hurt someone in American football. Whereas rugby, it's like a certain tackle, and it's just that's what the helmet and shoulder pads are there for. It's to
Yeah.
protect you from the type of tackles you can do. But going back to obviously what you're saying about not being able to recognize certain stars, it's just one of those things. Like it's once you get into it, like my girlfriend, my girlfriend, like she when we first met, we weren't. She was knew a little bit of American football, but not fully. And
Yeah.
then 3-4 years down the line, she's a pro. She knows everything about it now. Like she can watch the Super Bowl and not be waiting for the halftime. So she'll watch the game and
Yeah.
she'll know what's going on. I can ask her any question during the game. She'll be like, "Oh, that's why. This is why this. That's why the flag was thrown. This is what happened." And it's just one of those. It just takes a bit of time. It's like Game of Thrones or coming to a new TV series. You've got to give it a bit of time and work your way through it to get into it.
Do you think that's a byproduct of you or actually her enjoying and getting into the sport? Or is that just because that you watch it and you enjoy it? For example, also I watch all of these and I'm the same with my girlfriend. So she'll sit there. A good example is Sundays where all the sports they're in a block from early to afternoon. So she'll sit there, she'll watch the football and stuff, NBA, and as soon as it comes to 6 o'clock and it's NFL, she'll go away. And her main reasoning behind that, which is what I brought my earlier point, is you don't recognize the stars. You don't know the stars. I mean, it's changing with Lamar Jackson. It's a black quarterback. You don't see these. Whereas I was to put, I did do this exercise actually. I literally put, I think it was Ryan Tannehill, Jared Goff, Tom Brady, and Aaron Rodgers. And I said to her, who's Tom Brady? She just didn't know. I'm not too sure why the NFL doesn't gravitate to people as much. Well, around my friendship circle, maybe that's just me. I'm using a small sample size, as it does to other people. I mean, of course, if you're going to get these NFL games in London, the UK is so big that you're bound to fill out as 80,000 seat stadium. That's the only game you're going to get for the whole year. But my point is, let's say you get a franchise in London, is that going to be filled out every single week? Or let's say you get three in the main cities, London, Birmingham, Manchester. Are you going to have that repetition that it's sold out every single week? I don't think you would.
See, now obviously playing the sport for so many years,
Yeah.
like I've obviously looked into the history of British American football, and it used to be huge.
Okay.
Like stadiums Wembley used to fill out back in like 80s 90s sort of like era. Like it was a huge thing. Like there was international players coming over from America and Europe to the UK to play for these certain teams. And it was a huge thing. And I don't know. I think something happened between having two separate leagues of American football. It just broke down and sort of killed the sport off in the UK. And now we're currently back on a rebuild. So if obviously there's always been talks of a UK franchise sort of thing. I would say it would fill out most, like 8 times out of 10, like sort of like your football stadiums do. There's obviously certain games that they won't fill out, but then there's the certain games that will fill out. I certainly think it will, just based on the history of the sport in the UK when it used to be really popular. And I'm obviously on certain Facebook pages, Instagram pages, and you see some of the videos and some of the videos of like interviews of former players, and it was, I look at it and go, why is it not like that anymore? Like why like when I play for Manchester or I play for UClan, like why are we not gathering these sort of crowds? And obviously it's just because no one respects the sport as much as they used to, really. And obviously, but now that we're in a rebuild,
for me, that's the issue that I've got there. Why do you not respect that sport? Because, like, as you were saying, it's so physically taxing, and and for me, it should be the most relatable sport because you got people of all sizes. I mean, you can, no matter what weight, how athletic you are, there's a role for you in an NFL game. You know what I mean? Whereas if you're playing basketball, if you're not 6'5", what are you going to do? Nothing.
No, 100%. And I think it's because obviously we are British and rugby is the main sport. They just think and obviously rugby players don't help the fact that they go, it's just a softer version of rugby, and therefore and obviously the fact that it's stop and start is a hurdle to get over. A lot of people when I do speak to them about it, they go, oh, it's all stop and start, and I go, yes, because it's that tactical of the game. But once you get into it, you won't be able to stop. Like there's so many people I know that say that like, oh, it's just too stop and start for me. I can't get my head around it. I see him watching the Super Bowl. I see him putting on the stories all the time. Obviously, they say it's for the halftime show, but you don't have to watch the whole game to watch the halftime show. Like secretly, deep down, you like the sport deep down. I don't care what you say. Like because the halftime shows aren't even that great half the time. That's what I'm like. Most like the weekends this year wasn't the best. Obviously, COVID put a lot of hope to what he could and couldn't do, but it's one of those where people subconsciously like it because of the way that it's played out, but they don't want to admit it because I think it's just that innate Britishness of like, oh no, rugby's my sport. Like rugby's British sport. I prefer that over it. This is a softer version of rugby. Blah 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 blah. I see the Instagram stories and Facebook posts watching the Super Bowl the whole game through.
Yeah.
So it's one of those really. Like people just need to admit that it's a good sport.
Yeah. Fair point. So how big can it get in England? What are your expectations? Where do you see it in 20, 30 years' time?
I see it as obviously. I think obviously there has been if there's been talks about it, getting a franchise or two or something like in here, it can go as big as it gets because we're seeing British stars getting into the league. Obviously like FA. There's like a few players in there. Christian Wade, who turned from rugby to American football, they're getting in there. And now recently, I think it was like last year, the year before, there was the NFL Academy established in the UK. So that's young stars that are around, just under the age of 19, 18, who can go and progress themselves. I know 2 or 3 players who have gone and done that themselves. And that, they went off to the Pro Bowl the last year, met all these superstars and competed against Americans, and they put up they put up a really good, like, what do you call it? A good fight against these guys. Like when you watch them train together and playing, obviously, like flag football, something like that, and doing like the combine stuff, you can see it that like some of them were on a par with some of these people who've been playing it since they were 9, 10 years old. So if that's what it's like now, 20, 30 years, I think we're going to see a lot more involvement with British players in the NFL, or maybe, and obviously the league will grow back to a place where it used to be. But that's just my prediction. Obviously, anything can happen. Like the league could disperse again, and then the sport's dead once again. But hopefully, it's rising up. with all these NFL superstars backing it as well, it's it's one of those. So
Yeah. I mean,
time
social
will tell.
media has definitely played a factor in it, I think. The fact that the social media are out and these younger stars, they're having a bigger presence on social media. So that I was saying about, it sounds really silly, but my main pet peeve for it is the fact that they wear helmets. They wear helmets because they have to wear helmets. But it's such a like it's just hard to relate to stars because the only way me and my friends, for example, I got into it because one of my friends used to watch it, and the only way he got into American football was similar to me. He saw some stars and he liked them. He liked Aaron Rodgers. He liked these different players, and it was the same for me in basketball. So I never really gave basketball any time. I was just mainly a football guy, but saw LeBron James, kept seeing his face everywhere. And then you latch to certain stars because when you start, for example, you haven't got a team. I haven't got the KC Chiefs. You haven't got anybody, so you need to latch onto someone. And for me, yeah, that's the main way to improve it. So maybe small press conferences after the game, more PR events. But yeah, like you say, the only way is up, and Sky Sports promoting it and bringing it on board, giving its own dedicated channel, like you say, you can see it's getting bigger then because they're taking their time out just to give it one specific channel. So yeah, honestly, I agree. The only way is definitely up. To bring it more modern, just instead of talking in general, just talk about the season just gone. How did you find that the previous season just gone for your Patriots and specifically as well for Tom Brady leaving you guys and winning it all?
It's one of those, like, like Tom Brady was obviously the main guy. He was the reason that we won all them championships. Obviously Bill Belichick's a good coach, but I think the season has proven that Tom Brady was a big factor of it.
Yeah.
And then he left. I was gutted. Like, I really was gutted. I was like, oh damn it, it's actually happened. I thought it was all rumors. And then Gronk came back out of retirement, and I was salty. I was salty as hell. I don't care. Like, at the start of the season, I was salty as hell. But then once you see that Brady was doing, like, he was moving mad over at Tampa, it was, you know what, you gotta give him credit. He's gone to an organization. He's not had a preseason because of COVID, and he still won the whole goddamn thing with a new organization. I give him ups for that. And then going to the Patriots season, I was nowhere near expecting anything special. I was excited because, like, Cam Newton was like, I've always said this, if I weren't supporting the Patriots, I would support the Panthers because of Cam Newton. Like, if you go on my Instagram, you'll see a few posts about Cam Newton, like just how he's a swaggy guy, and he's a swaggy guy.
Exactly. Sorry to interrupt, but with what I was saying before about the whole helmet thing, Cam Newton kind of broke that mold for me because was it 2013, 2015 when he was massive when winning MVPs. I remember my older cousins and stuff. They used to obviously know Cam Newton because he used to do like the Dougie and all of these different dances and do that Superman pose. And that was like that's personality. He wasn't vanilla. He was a superstar. He was somebody you could latch onto. So yeah, just to go back, yeah, he was breaking the mold from an early on. It's a bit of ahead of his time, if you know what I mean. But,
yeah. No, it 100% was. I'm trying to find it on my Instagram right now where I first put on Cam Newton. Anyway, so it was 2015. I literally put absolutely in love with Cam Newton celebration versus Titans when he hit the folk, and everyone started like getting on his back.
Yeah.
Like, that was 2015 when and I loved him. And then he sort of influenced my style of play a little bit as well because I used to wear low cut cleats, boots. Sorry, like whatever you call it. Yeah. And literally, my next post on that Instagram is me transitioning with high top cleats because of how he influenced me in that way. And then I think the year after, I started wearing wrist sleeves, like Cam Newton did. And it's just little things like that. Like, he's a star that, obviously, like I said, he broke the mold for a player who can have a bit of swag to it. I'm not saying I'm a swag player, but like, I'm not nowhere near saying that before people start commenting that sort of stuff. But like, he's a player that obviously broke the mold for me to put a bit of style in my play, and the way he ran with the ball. Obviously, he's a quarterback, but he's obviously translucent for someone who, because me being around 6'4", it's a bit tall for a running back.
Yeah.
So I had to obviously learn. Obviously, when I'm looking at my personal hero, like heroes in the world, my comparisons like LaShawn McCoy is my favorite running back. Has
Yeah.
been for years. The past 3 seasons, he's not been up there, but he's got 2 rings because he's been on Kansas City and then Tampa Bay. He's just one of those players that he's a shifty little guy, and then Cam Newton's tall, who's also shifty. They're the two players I've like compared to grow myself into a better player throughout the years. And like I said, it's just when Cam Newton did come to New England, I was a bit excited. I thought, yeah, he's going to bring a bit of that magic. And then obviously, I think I'm not blaming COVID, but he took 2 weeks off for COVID when he was getting to his stride. He was
Yeah.
getting to his stride, and then COVID hit him for 2 weeks, and then we started getting injuries with Devontae Hightower and Edelman, and Stephon Gilmore was getting injured, and the McCourty teams are getting injured. It just didn't help the season at all. But going forward, I don't think Cam is the right move, the right way for Belichick.
It is.
I personally think we need to draft really well, but I don't think this year's the year to do it.
All right, cool. So just to wrap up, I want to look ahead to this upcoming season and give some way too early predictions, really. So first of all, who's your champion for this upcoming season? And then I'll give mine, vice versa.
See, any other season, I would just give you an answer.
Yeah.
But because there's so many people that might be moving around all over the place, I haven't, because obviously Watson is the big story right now.
Yeah.
Like, where is he going to go? I feel like if he goes to an organization like, the Broncos or the Panthers, I think he could really make a push for them. But if he goes to the Bears, which has been reported like this morning, I've seen a lot of reports for this morning.
I think if he does leave, I think he'll go Miami. They seem to be the only team who's got the assets that could be enough to get him. If you know what I mean? They've got, was it 3 first-round picks this year, and they've got Tua, who's a young quarterback, and then they can just build with him. I mean,
but it's like, but Tua's such a good quarterback for the future.
Yeah.
Do you want it's sort of like it's sort of taking it away? It's like sort of taking it away from for Tua, and then he's going to want to go elsewhere because Watson's on the field, Tua's not getting a chance.
Well, no, I'm saying send Tua to Houston in a package. So send all of their 3 first-round picks or 2, whatever, how many they've got this year, as well as Tua. And I've read a report as well somewhere that they were looking for one of these, a good defensive player who can start. I'm sure they've got, was it Xavier Howard, whatever his name is. They've got loads of good defensive players that put them 2 in, a couple first-round picks. I mean, Houston, this guy does not want to play for you guys. He's made it clear, like he just
no one wants to play for Houston. No one wants to play for Houston. Houston is a joke organization right now. There's a reason why their stars are wanting to leave because there's just no organization. They're a team with no passion, no desire. The head office doesn't really know what they're doing.
Yeah.
A lot of people are going to come to me after saying that, but it's true. There's a reason why Hopkins left and Watson and JJ have left because there's something going wrong at the top. It always starts from the top.
100%.
So it brings it down other way. So it's a joke conversation. But going back to position, so based on today, Watson stays at thingy, Russell stays here, and everyone, there's like a little bit of move around.
Yeah.
I would probably go for. I think the Ravens might make a good case this year if they draft a good running back.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one thing they're missing, a good running back.
Okay.
So either the Ravens, or I might go for your Chiefs. To be fair, I think Mahomes might finally be able to get his second Super Bowl.
Okay, cool. I mean, you make a good compelling case with. I want to turn around and say the Chiefs. Yeah, every year the Chiefs are going to win. That's what I want to do. That's what's in my heart, but I can't see it. What the battery that we suffered in the Super Bowl, it was just a simple scheme that they just went too high and just let the linebackers match up with Kelsey, and it completely shut down the team. The offensive line have been beat up all season, and unless we're probably going to draft a few with our first round pick, etc. And the one problem why I don't think we'll go back and win it, but it's still early, we have to check the season, of course, is Andy Reid is just too stubborn. He doesn't. I love him, whatever, all of this. This is not against him, but he's too stubborn. In the Super Bowl, we go into the half. We were only down about, I can't remember, it was like 13 or 14 points. It wasn't out of hand yet, let's just say.
Yeah, two touchdowns. It was two
Yeah.
touchdown game at halftime.
And we had the ball, so it wasn't out of hand. It was fine. So he starts off, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I like him, yeah. So you have to run. When you're playing too high, the only way you can beat them is you're not going to throw it deep, so you just have to keep running the ball. They're doing it, they're getting success. And then they're at Tampa Bay's 40-yard line, and then he's like, let me go back to what we do normally. It's Patrick Mahomes. They're gonna win. I mean, he's gonna have to fucking throw a few touchdowns or not. And then that cost us really, in my opinion. So going into next season, I think a lot of teams are going to try emulate Tampa Bay's scheme. Obviously, they haven't got the talent Tampa Bay have. So most teams, you probably get a 12-4 record, 13-3 record in the regular season anyway. But in the playoffs, they'll come back to bite them. So in my opinion, actually, I think the team that's probably going to win it this year could be seen a bit of a long shot, but I think it's going to be the Cleveland Browns. They impressed me last year, and everybody's growing. Yeah, so my way too early prediction. That's what it says right here. Way too early prediction. I'm going to go with the Cleveland Browns.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
You know what? I've my flatmate. He calls me a Cleveland Brown hater, and I'm not a hater of the Browns. I'm not. It's just that it's just a lot of bad. It's a lot of bad apples in the bunch, and I don't mean bad as in like the bad players. Like Baker Mayfield's a good quarterback. He's up there with. I'm not gonna say elite. He is a franchise quarterback, but he has elite qualities.
Yeah,
because he can throw the ball, he can run the ball, he can read defenses pretty well. And obviously you got Odell, you've got Landry, you've got Garrett and all these other players who you obviously got them to a certain stage to demolish the Steelers twice. But it comes to the fact of Baker Mayfield doesn't have obviously I know it takes experience to get experience, but would he come up against say Tampa Bay get in the Super Bowl again? Yeah. Do you think he can outmatch Brady?
I don't.
I'm not saying Tampa.
I don't think he would have to. He doesn't. With the Cleveland Browns, we were pretty lucky to beat them, but we had Mahomes out. But now with Odell coming back, they're gonna have the weapons for him to throw. But the main fact for them is that they've got two amazing running backs, two literally elite top tier running backs. An offensive line that they completely invested in all of them picks when they were fucking shit every year after year, and they just kept picking high and they just kept drafting offensive linemen. So Baker Mayfield, he doesn't have to keep up with Brady. If their running game is working and you got a bit of play action here to one of his weapons, you're fine. I mean, their defense is pretty good. They just need to draft maybe one or two cornerbacks, and
that's the difference. That's what I mean. As in, keep up with Brady. Can that defense stop the voodoo magic that Tom Brady produces? Especially if I say like Brady and Gronk stay in for another year. Could Brady and Gronk in the Super Bowl? It was written in the stars to happen. Like. Because obviously you think that he's going to go for Mike Evans. Mike Evans was his guy all year. Everyone double blocks him. Gronk's wide open every single time. Yeah. And they're just going to switch between that. And if they keep Chris Godwin in there, it's so many weapons to keep hold of. It's just something of, can that it's not the offense that's the problem. I think it's the defense they need to work on. And it was the perfect opportunity to get JJ Watt. Obviously, I said in my show that it wasn't really a good fit because he wouldn't be able to be a proper leader among all these other players. But I just don't think the defense has what it takes to make it against an elite quarterback. But that's just obviously my opinion because they get blown out. This defense this year got blown out too many times by the big teams.
Yeah,
because they did they got.
No, that's fine. You make definitely a compelling case there. But what I'm saying, you have to go into the draft this year and maybe free agency and grab a cornerback. That's essential. But in terms of offensively, they've got that fine. That's fine. That's box stuff. Just run it back next year. In terms of defense, you need a cornerback, but you've got a superstar defensive D lineman in Miles Garrett. This guy is a top 3, top 5 D tackle, so he's going to make a lot of blow up a lot of plays. KC, for example, we couldn't get pressure on Brady, and when you was flipping that round, we had no offensive linemen, so they were blowing us out. But if you go back and you look at New Orleans is a good example. New Orleans should have beat Tampa Bay, but they had their tight end, I forgot his name, their tight end, he dropped that pass and then he fumbled it and then they grabbed it and then they go and score points. But apart from that, New Orleans were in control for that whole game. Same with the Packers. The Packers, Tom Brady had 3 straight turnovers, bad throws, bad picks, but Rodgers just couldn't convert for some reason. He started choking as usual. But yeah, I mean, Tampa Bay are not indestructible. They just looked in the Super Bowl against us because a lot of their qualities, it was just a bad matchup. A lot of their qualities were our weaknesses. So they look way better than they actually are in the Super Bowl. But if you look at their run to the Super Bowl, they weren't all that. I mean, I would be shocked if they go back to the Super Bowl. They done really well to win it this year. It was, like you say, it was just literally Brady magic. Everything just fell into place. And when they needed to make plays, they made plays. But yeah, for me, Cleveland Browns can do a mad thing. Watch this year. Just keep an eye on them. I was watching them closely.
No, fair enough. No, like,
yeah.
No, fair enough, 100%. Obviously, when you said that, I was like, oh, okay. The other thing that popped to mind was that defense. Was literally like, oh, can that defense handle that? But like you said, this off season is their chance to build on that. So it's a good early prediction, to be fair. No, fair enough.
So moving on to MVP, who do you think could win MVP this upcoming year?
I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to say JJ Watt for Cardinals. You know.
Ooh, yeah.
I feel like it's just. I think it's just the Cardinals are doing something great. They're doing what the Browns have done for a few years. They're building themselves up to then go once for the next, for a good run of years, just go right. Super Bowl, ring. They're gonna. I think they're building up just to get a collection.
Yeah.
They're saving up the money and they're saving up all these opportunities to get there. So I think it'll be a Cardinals player. Either probably I'm going to stick with JJ, but as a secondary, I think Hopkins will be there as well.
Okay, cool. That's interesting. For me, MVPs, it seems like it's just a quarterback award. This season for me, Rodgers played well, but Derrick Henry was the MVP, in my opinion. So I'm probably going to stick with the quarterback because that's what the voters tend to do. I'm going to go with Russell Wilson, your boy. So I'm guessing he's just going to stay in Seattle, in Seahawks, and they'll cave in and give him.
I think so too, yeah.
Yeah, they'll cave in and give him what he wants, and he'll show out and as to why. Obviously, he wants that extra recognition, just that seat at the table, like you said. Actually, to go back on the Seahawks, I had them going to the Super Bowl. I got reminded of this like 2 days ago, and they completely capitulated in the first round, which was fucking annoying. But yeah, so be it. Okay, cool. Just to wrap up as our last. Yeah. Sorry, just to wrap up as our last.
Go on.
Yeah. Who are your dark horses? That's 2 in the
dark horses. Dark horses. If I had to pick a dark horse in this, I've gone back and forth. With this team. I said oh, they won't make it into the playoffs again. But then I've gone, oh, you know what? They've got the talent. They've got everything that's going right for them. They just need the experience in that. I think the Bills will be a dark horse.
Yeah. Okay.
Buffalo will be a real bad dark horse. I think when they got to the conferences and the conference finals, I was like, I don't think this team will make it back to this stage again. But then I think about it over and over again, and because I keep going back and forth, that's what a dark horse is. You
Yeah.
sort of back him and then don't back him, back him and don't back him. So I think the Bills might be a dark horse if they're going to be if it's their season to be one.
Yeah. I, I'm saying I'm torn between two teams now, and they're both different. One's an AFC, one an NFC. So I'm going to give a first one. It's a more glamorous, better one. So I've got the Cowboys. But the problem is with the Cowboys, why I can't commit to them. It's just dysfunction, and there's always something happening, and that's it's a bad sign, especially we're just talking about defense. Their defense actually was horrible. It was fucking
Terrible,
awful. It was one of the
terrible.
worst in the league. But yeah, so they're just there. But my actual dark horse, my proper pick, would be the Colts. The Colts, again, they're similar to the Cleveland Browns, but their defense is actually better than the Cleveland Browns. They've got a good running game, excellent offensive lineman, and last year they was missing a quarterback. So I'm pinning my hopes on Carson Wentz, and this is what makes them a dark horse rather than a genuine contender, because I'm not too sure what Carson Wentz we're going to get. Are we going to get 2018, 2017 Carson Wentz, or are we going to get 2020 Carson Wentz? So yeah, it's one of them things, but like I say, it's a dark horse.
Yeah, with the Cowboys, they just need to commit to Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. They need to just go to him. I'm not saying give him a Patrick Mahomes-esque contract, because I think he's asking for the second highest paid player.
Yeah.
He's not a second highest paid player, but they need to give him his money. They need to give him his money and give him the respect that he does deserve for what he has done for the organization so far. And Zeke obviously needs to pick himself up a little bit. He's not been obviously I used to be an Ohio State fan.
Yeah.
When he came to the league, I knew he was going to be a hard hitter. First 2 years, hard hitter. Now it's a bit like he's a bit. I know he's just got a bit.
Yeah.
He's got a bit into himself and whatnot. And then going over to the Colts, again, it's if we are like you said, if we're going to get that early stage Carson Wentz, or is he going to just become a very systematic quarterback where he doesn't exactly make the big plays in the big situations? He just does enough to get his paychecks. It's one of those really, like you said.
Again, you see, that's a good point that you made, but I see that as an advantage. Whereas, same with Baker Mayfield, if they can be a system quarterback, sometimes you need to protect these guys from themselves, because if you just hand them the keys, they'll fucking crash the car. So you need to ease them in just bit by bit. And if you need that play downfield, something that Philip Rivers couldn't do, he can actually do that play when you ask him to do it. But mainly, yeah, you just want to run the ball with that rookie quarterback, that rookie running back they had last year. Quinton Nelson, they got an amazing offensive line, and their defense is really good as well. Just DeForest Buckner and all of these different guys. You just need to manage him. And the fact that the coach there also worked with him at Philadelphia, that helps a bit. So hopefully, yeah. I mean,
It does.
Yeah. We'll say all of this, and then fucking Tom Brady would just go back and repeat and just win it all again. So what's the point?
You know what? I'm gonna jokingly say I'm gonna change it to the Patriots, but the Patriots aren't gonna do anything for a while now. Bill Belichick just needs to work on keeping the plays he's got and then building after that. So, Patriots are not the dark horse for this season. I think give it 2-3 years, we might be up there, but let's not quote me on that, Earl. Let's not bring when us two are big successful YouTubers. Let's not bring back this highlight to me saying that.
I know, bro. Tell me about it. Anyway, Tyler, what have you got going on? Thanks for coming through here, but just to close off here, just let us know, and obviously all the viewers watching, what have you guys got going on at Tyler Talks, and what can we expect from you guys?
Yeah, so obviously Fridays is our sports news thing. I've just got a new co-host in Kaya Baxter. Shout out to that guy. He knows sports in and out. He self admits that he doesn't go into the salary caps and stuff like I do. I'm more the factual guy. He's more of the, it is how it is sort of guy. So I think that's probably worked really well together. So our Friday show is mainly that. And then now we've got starting this Monday, we've got Big Talk, which is where we sort of let our viewers vote for the big debates that happen in sports. So obviously, I think one of the funny ones that we got as an honourable mention was, will Arsenal ever be a top side again? And that's obviously a big debate of will they or won't they? But this Monday starting, we've got one saying, are sports documentaries good or bad for the subject?
Okay.
Again, we're gonna have to like go really into how sports documentaries, the different types of sports documentaries, and how they sort of lift the lid on certain things and what they close on and what they do and don't show. So it's on Big Talk, it's all about the things that you can sit down and talk about for a good hour or a bit longer. Obviously, we're not going to try and take too much of people's times, but just sit down and just talk about one subject for so long.
Okay, cool, bro. Sounds good. I look forward to seeing it, man. But yeah, so it's been Nick. Thanks to you guys for tuning in, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and also to go over to Time to Talk to check them guys out.